coming out to freshman and sophomore parent night. This is kind of a fairly new baby for the Student Services Department. Mr. Murberg, is this like the second or third?
Actually, the fourth.
Oh, okay. So this has been kind of like the brainchild of Mr. Nuremberg and the rest of the Student Services Department. The reason I'm here tonight, my name is Elizabeth Valero. I'm the Activities Director, and I'm here very briefly in order to just kind of introduce myself because I am the freshman class sponsor. I am also the Activities Director. So I kind of have a hand in all of the classes, but I do I like to say I specialize in the freshmen because that's the class that I will see through in the 4 years that they're here. So to my wonderful class of 2024 parents, welcome. It's been a rough start, and I can imagine that your kids are not really getting that full experience. Like, they don't even know what homecoming looks like, which kind of made me sad because they haven't been a part of that tradition yet. So they're kind of going to have a second freshman year. And what I mean by a second freshman year is that they're going to have the opportunity to learn everything spirit-wise, Palmetto, tradition-wise. They'll learn all about that probably next year because this year has been a little bit downsized when it comes to all the things that we normally participate in. But I did want to give you all the opportunity to just know that the different ways that your child can get involved on campus. And if they didn't already do so, at the start of the year, we did have a club fair, and that can kind of showcase all the different clubs we have on campus. It's really impressive. We have over 65 clubs and honor societies on campus. We have one of the largest extracurricular programs in the county. And so the students have an opportunity to get involved in anything that their heart desires. And if it doesn't exist, I'll tell you, they find a way to make it happen. They start different groups within clubs that are already existing and things like that. So it's pretty wonderful to see that. But what I did want to kind of talk up more than anything tonight for the freshmen and the sophomores, because I am speaking on behalf of Miss Lisa Mallard, the sophomore class sponsor, is the opportunity to get involved within the student council. I'm always talking to parents that are asking me the question, my child wants to be involved on campus, but they don't know what they want to do. And usually, my first question to them is, what are some of their passions? What are their likes and dislikes? When in reality, I want to kind of steer them towards student council. And the reason for that is because we have a very large student council. We have over 70 senators and officers within the student council, but that's the smallest part of student council if you really think about it, because within each class has a class cabinet, and that cabinet acts as the advisors to the officers of their class to help advise them on the year as a whole. So everything from fundraising to performances, to field trips, t-shirts, etc. And so they get together once a month and kind of discuss the route they want to take that year in for their class. So if they decide that this is the year that they want to have a large scale field trip and they wanted to go to Universal Studios on a day trip, that would be something that we would plan as a class. Or if they're looking at their budget and starting to think about senior year, and they're saying, we don't want to leave it all to the last minute, so we want to start doing a lot of fundraising, they would start putting together fundraisers that would start funding maybe their senior year, or maybe even funding an event within their underclass years as well. So I always want to encourage, if you have a student with good ideas, a student that's a leader, a student that is a great worker bee, or a student that just wants to find a place to kind of be involved in the heart of the campus, I can't recommend to them enough to try to get involved in student council. There are 3 ways to do that. And the first one is obviously going to be to run for office within their class. The class officers run for re-election every single year. So if they have a challenger, that's someone that hasn't been involved yet, they have a challenger. So there's class officer elections. There's also the Senate application process, which is to join the Student Council Senate. And they are basically overseeing different aspects of student council, everything from faculty staff appreciation to school safety, parliamentarians, different things like that. There are a lot of different a lot of different Senate positions that oversee hubs of the campus life. So that's another one. And that now the freshmen are allowed to apply for Senate, and that those applications happen in May. But I'm going to get to that in a second. And then, of course, joining the class cabinet. Most of our class cabinets are open to anyone that wants to join. So if you want to come to a meeting and you want to hear a little bit more about what the class is talking about, they're always open. So they usually will advertise them through social media. If you just search MPSH and the class year, so MPSH 2023 and 2024, you can find their Instagram and all their information will be on there. And usually they're always advertising when their next cabinet meeting is going to be. So I want to just encourage you guys, if you have that kind of student, to go ahead and join the cabinet, or even apply for something bigger. So we will have student council elections in February. They'll take place usually at the end of February, and we announce it at the very first week of March. In fact, actually last year, the very last thing we did on campus was our student council election, and then we went on quarantine the next day. So it was kind of fortunate that we got that done. So we will have student council elections at the end of February into the first week of March. The Senate applications this year will go out at the end of the school year, and the application process involves an interview. So the interviews will actually be taking place over the summer via Zoom, because I am going on maternity leave. So I will not be there to do interviews at the end of the year, but I will be back for the summertime. And so we will arrange an interview time with the students to take place over the summer. We're very flexible and we make things work, especially if you guys, if you or your child are going out of town. That's the beauty of Zoom. Kind of like good thing that came out of this was being able to meet whenever we can. And then always, like I said, cabinet is open all year long. So I encourage your child to get involved. If they are looking for more information on specific clubs, they can always send me an email or send the sponsors an email, because if you go to our school's website, all the sponsors are listed there. It's actually under the activities section. You would just click on activities and you'll see that there's club contact information all over the website. It's been a different year. We probably haven't gotten as many freshmen and sophomores involved in clubs as normal because of the lack of communication and the lack of being able to meet person to person. A lot of times kids will like to go to a sponsor and physically talk to them, but with such a high percentage of our campus being home learning, it's been a little difficult. So if there's still interest, we encourage the students to still be a part of all these groups. And I am always open to a meeting. So I'm going to just let everyone know. They can always send me an email. They can go to our virtual activities office, which I highly recommend. It's got a lot of information there. And that's actually through our school's website. In the links section, you'll see virtual activities office, and you can go in there to get any sort of contact information for myself. Any of our student council officers as well is on there, and then just clickable links on things that they might need. And then I just want to let everyone know that when I do go on my leave in April, probably a lot of our clubs are going to kind of slow down because there's not going to be a lot happening on campus activity wise, extracurricularly, because I won't be there. But I am always reachable through email. It might take me a little longer to answer when I'm dealing with a newborn, but I promise at some point I will answer. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I have to say. I'm sorry if I've gone really quickly. I don't want to take too much time away from Mr. Nurnberg and Ms. Dwyer, but I do want to give you guys the heads up on that. And there's a couple little questions here. I just want to check real quick.
Can you hold a volunteer? Can you volunteer to help student council without holding a position? Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the best. You can even, if you're someone that wants to be involved, maybe not in class stuff, but in student council, you can always come to me. I've had a lot of students that haven't received a position because they either lost an election or were not selected or appointed a position, and they've joined student council anyways, because all of our student council meetings are open. They're open to the public. So anyone can come to a meeting, anyone can volunteer at a student council event. The only difference between you and an appointed senator is that that appointed senator has a title. So I highly recommend anyone that maybe feels discouraged by the idea of running for office or discouraged when they don't get appointed in a position to still put themselves out there and make sure that I know who they are and maybe the officers know who they are and that there's someone that wants to be involved. What we want more than anything is students with drive and passion that want to be involved. And that's what makes all the difference on our events on campus. Yes. What about HIP? Okay. HIP is an organization that is run through our Health Occupation Science department. Ms. Brislon is the sponsor of HIP, and they're a group that goes into different classes to educate about health. So if anyone is interested in HIP, they should probably contact Ms. Brislon, and they usually do applications for that. Yes, juniors and seniors to become peer counselors in the April-May. Yep. All right. I'm gonna hang on for a little bit and I'll answer anything in the chat. But if anyone has, if anyone has any questions after this, definitely please send me an email. I'm always available via email. It's better than calling because I'm usually not sitting right by my phone.
Okay. And guys, about any other questions about outside activities, if you could just wait. I think I will try to cover everything in the presentation, and we'll gladly answer questions if it's pertaining to the topic I'm talking about. But don't try to guess ahead of me, because I think by the time we finish, we're going to cover a lot of material. So thank you, Ms. Valero. I must say something. For the very, very first time in all our Zoom history in the past 10 months, where is your son? She's muted. She can't. I'm in control of the mute. Go ahead.
He's eating croquetas, so that's the bribe.
If any of you seen Miss Valero, even in the awards presentation last year for the sophomore, the little youngster has Eric's been at every meeting I think we've been to. So once again, welcome. I believe Ms. Benuez is going to talk a little bit about PTSA, and then we'll get moving.
Thank you. I'm unmuted, right?
Yes.
Okay. So welcome everybody, and I'm so glad you could join tonight. PTA would be very, very happy if everyone here has already joined or will join, including your students. We have a very difficult year this year because we have not been able to have meetings in person, but our PTA meetings that we've been having every month, I think are actually a lot more people even attending than they do in person. So it's a good year for that. We've really focused on just keeping everybody informed and communication open so that all the information is out there that is especially challenging right now during these times. So we're doing our best for that, and your support is very much appreciated. As far as kind of to piggyback a little bit on what Ms. Valero said is involvement, PTA also has opportunities for student leadership, and we very much encourage and support students being involved. We have a board member who is a student on our PTSA board. That person is actually from the selection of Student Senate. So at the end of the year, like Ms. Valero was saying, the applications for Student Senate positions within the Student Council. And there is a position available for PTSA and ESAC representative. And I think that Ms. Valero, I think there's 4 who are chosen every year.
Correct.
The senior member is our voting board member, but all 4 members come to our board and participate in that discussion, and all 4 also attend the ESAC meetings, which are the meetings that we have once a month with the administration and the community and that is for our school improvement plan, which is renewed every year. We go over issues that are important in the school. It's a really great way to get involved and know what is going on in our school. And then also this year, what we're working on is trying to get additional students involved as our advocacy chair, which is another board position. And so we are working with several clubs in our school. So if your student is involved in any of those clubs, they should have heard from their sponsors about that opportunity as well. So because we're a high school and we really want to support and encourage student leadership, that is another opportunity. There's lots of ways for our kids to get involved, and starting right away. So I know it's been challenging this year with being virtual and some people being MSO and some people being in person, but it's out there, the opportunities are there. And if anyone ever has any questions about any of that, my email is right there on our PTSA website and our PTSA website link. So please feel free to reach out to any of us. And I think that that's it that I have. Thank you.
Okay, so any questions about PTSA? We're going to go and I guess I'll talk for a second before I throw the PowerPoint up. I want to warn you. Miss Dwyer and I were talking earlier today, and she reminded me, we were talking about like going back and forth and talking, and she said, you know, as a parent, I still get stressed out by this entire process.
It does.
We're going to, even with the knowledge of what we're talking about, it even stresses me out of what you are going to have to learn over the next 2-3 years. For the sophomore parents, you'll see some things from last year, but obviously things have changed. And for the freshman parents, be ready to be a little overwhelmed, and some of the vocabulary you may not even understand. So we're going to go, especially for our first-time parents. And normally, if we're in the auditorium, I'd ask everybody this is your first child in high school, I'd ask you to raise your hand. But I'm not going to do that today, and we'll just move forward. Obviously, one of my favorite cartoons, and if you don't read Zitz, it is the Bible of having a 15-year-old. And I just want to welcome you all once again to coming tonight. It's going to be based mostly on the post-secondary planning part of the process that you're going through. And I know you're saying, oh my God, it's so, I have a 9th grader. What are you talking about? Post-secondary. Well, this is where it all begins. And, so I'm going to introduce, not personally, I didn't ask anybody to come because it just takes up more of your time if I have more people to introduce and stuff, but I'll talk about the support staff. Course selection, where are we at course selection? I'm going to give you a little bit about that. Post-secondary options, new vocabulary, open discussion without judgment, and what to expect, how you're going to think about talking about money with your child sometime. And I'll give you a little bit of homework to go home with. So counselor-wise, your students are assigned by your last name. Hopefully your counselors will be here for the 3 or 4 years you're going to be here. And pretty much, I think we've stabilized the alphabet this year with the addition of new counselor. So the counselors are assigned by alphabet and the emails are there. Anything on this PowerPoint will be on YouTube tomorrow, and I'll probably repeat this again under my name, and I'll probably put it in the file drive in another program, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And we'll see if I can put it for anybody else if people want it. But these are our 5 counselors. Miss Lisa Mallard is our department chair. So if there are any issues that are not being resolved, you may want to go through Miss Mallard, and she is the department chair of student services. We've also, unbelievable this year, we've increased our student services department almost double. I'm there as the CAP counselor, which means college advisement program. Mrs. Dwyer has been hired as the CAP interventionist by Ms. Dobbs. I mean, she started working last year as volunteering, and she's done an amazing job, and she's a wealth of knowledge. The kids are definitely magnetized to her. So if you have a kid that needs a little nurturing, definitely go to Ms. Dwyer. I'm not the nurturer in the group. We have a trust counselor, and some of you don't even know what trust counselors are because they're back from about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, every school had one, and they're for at-risk students. They also, in the past, have had different kinds of groups, sessions, and I know Ms. Mills is getting that all organized. And by the time we go back physical, I guess we'll be able to do all those things. Ms. Valencia is our testing chair and testing chair for the state testing. And Ms. Fair is anything to do with College Board and AP exams. And Mr. Diaz is our Student Services Secretary. Here are all our emails, and feel free to email us with any concern. I would give you the extensions of the phone, but I think emails now are just the best way to communicate. I have to toot our horn. Yes, in the last week or so, the Student Services Department in Miami Palmetto got the 2021 Excellence in College Counseling Award by common application, CollegeWise and Reach Higher. We would have been recognized at the national championship football game, but since there were no fans pretty much allowed, we were told we can go to Indianapolis next year if we want to.
And I'm going to hold them to it because I want to go.
Yeah, I know. And also there'll be a podcast on February 23rd where I'll be talking with the winner from last year, the college counselor from a school in New Orleans. So it's a real kudo to our school. They picked us over every high school within 90 miles of Hard Rock Stadium. So I'm very proud of the department. It's an amazing department. And, probably the best one I've ever worked with, most knowledgeable counselors. And real quickly, I'm putting this up there for you to look at when you come back and review it. If you want to take a snapshot of this, feel free to. This is from the state. Normally, we would have a counselor come in and take 25 minutes to explain this. It's really not that difficult, even though it looks difficult. But if you have questions, you can make an appointment with the counselor and talk about graduation and also different kinds of diplomas that are offered. So at the end, I could bring this back up. I also already have put this in a file drive, which I'm going to teach you guys how to get to, where this is already sitting in there and you'll be able to do it.
So a dum-dum version of this is what your baby has to do before they graduate. They have to do all of these different things.
Right. This page is all the graduation requirements. And here are all the different scholar diploma designations and what the state looks at also. So it'll be in your file drive of the account I'm going to teach you guys about in a few minutes. And there's so much for you guys to know. Becoming involved is so important. I mean, obviously there's a big difference between a helicopter parent and a hovering parent and, and a non-involved parent. We ask you to please be involved, join, obviously by joining the PTSA, getting informed, by reading all the emails we send you, by staying connected. I know the phone calls home have gotten horrific this year with the COVID calls, but remember there are calls that will be coming back. Don't block it. I've noticed a little increase in blocking phone calls, but just in general, stay informed. It's the best way, and using our school website. If this is your first child in high school, be ready to be, not know a lot. And nothing is the same as it was 5 years ago. So I can't imagine it being the same as 15 or 20 years ago. So make sure that you are signed up on the school portal. Your student has an account on the portal. You can have one too. If there's a question about that, I believe you can talk to Mr. Diaz about that. And we're here to give you advice no matter where your child's headed, whether you're looking at a four-year college or going into the work world or anything in between. Your child, by the time they leave, will have all this information. And it starts now. I mean, like one of the first things we just talked about HIP a few minutes ago. HIP is in there training your kids on how to be a high school student. And now I'm going to start, I guess, with a little bit of stressful things, but realize that applications start in July of their senior year. So if you think about the sophomore parents, you're ending your sophomore year. So that means a year from the end of this year, you're going to be in the work. But the truth of the matter is applications are really starting now, because you build a portfolio for your child, or your child builds a portfolio for you, whichever way you want to look at it. But you're going to create a portfolio, and you don't want to wait till senior year to get this all ready. You want to start putting it all together. How does it start? The PSAT in 10th and 11th grade. A lot of kids took the test today. I don't know the numbers. The scores will be out here, and it will be here in about 6 weeks. That's normal under normal circumstances. When you look at the score, don't look at the raw score. It's not as important as the percentile they're in. So if they're in the top 2% or top 5% or top 10%, that's a good indicator. And if there's weaknesses, I'm going to talk to you in a second about what to do. It's also an indicator of success rate in AP classes. And the counselors have a way of looking at a thing called AP potential, and it sort of gives you a guide. If a child is weak in math, weaker in the math part of the PSAT, maybe you're not going to want your child to do calculus or statistics. You may want to take an honors track unless they start working on their weaknesses. In 11th grade, it is for a scholarship called National Merit. There's awards given for the top 5% in the country. Top 2% in the country puts you in the competition. And if you're a person of color, there is a national merit for the top 5% for the African American Hispanic community. And once again, in 9th and 10th grade, it's for predictive, it's for correction, it's for making you stronger. How's the best way to do this when it comes to the PSAT is Khan Academy. It allows you to link your PSAT score to a tutorial program, which then works on what the kids don't know. Khan Academy has a lot of purposes. A lot of teachers are using it this year as a teaching tool, but most importantly, and I want to tell you, when this first came out about 6 years ago, I was very skeptical, but now they're showing us statistics of what the children are doing under Khan Academy, and it links them for free tutoring, and it really does well. I think I just went backwards. There we go. Sorry, I have a new mouse that I got about a month ago, and it's very touchy. Okay, so what are the schools looking for? And I'm now talking about all colleges, different types of things. And these are things that we're going to start planning on, the testing and the rigor and the grades they're taking. In the next month or so, we are going to do course selection. The reason we're not talking about it in full detail, as the parent asked already, is that we are coming up with a way to do it online and still having a meeting with the counselor and the teachers and being able to give you the individual attention you need to get in order to choose the right classes. What I'm here to tell you is in the process of admission, rigor is probably one of the most important things we're talking about. The testing's included on that, and obviously the grades we get are important. There's testing, rigor. There's one school test your testing, the rigor of your courses, and your grades. Okay, nothing else. Some schools are going to talk about the testing, the rigor, the grades, and what we call the holistic side of the application, which I'll talk about in a minute. Now there are schools more so, no testing, rigor, grades, and the holistic side. New verbiage is coming out all the time. We have now test optional, which means you have the choice of turning in a test. Some of the schools are on a 3-year trial period on not using testing. I was talking with one of the schools, I think it was Columbia this week, 60% of the students applied with a test, 40% applied without a test. So it's becoming, and some of the schools have been doing this a while. UChicago and NYU have been test optional or test blind for about 4 years now. And then being in the state of Florida, we are the only state right now that does require that a child takes a test. So that's something that a lot of the people in the school system are not happy about, not just ours, all over the state, but the Board of Governors has decided that they do want a test. One of those reasons is because of bright futures. But COVID has absolutely changed the way universities are looking at things. College Board just stopped the subject tests. They're not counting the writing anymore. So what it's saying to us is the testing process is not going to be as important as it was. If I had a freshman or a sophomore, I would still project that they're going to take a test, especially if they do well. And if they don't do as well as you hope, grades and rigor become even more important. And again, sometimes I talk ahead of my slides, so I'm sorry, I try not to read it to you. But when they're looking at the, maybe they'll be looking at the test scores, they do look at 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. There are a few schools actually, very, very few that don't look at 9th grade. They just look at 10th and 11th. Some schools don't even look at senior grades until they graduate. The University of Florida does not look at senior grades until they accept you and you're ready to get there. And if there's a decline, there's action they take. So, but Florida State and all the other state schools sometimes do look at mid-year reports. Part of the holistic side is the test scores and the grades and the rigor, but now we go to the real holistic side, and that's the essay. And sometimes that's a plural essay. Some schools will give you 2, 3, 4 essays, some are short. And that's very important that it's in the child's voice. And, and I'll give you some hints about that in a second. What they're looking for next in the holistic section is what Ms. Valero was talking about, being involved, being a leader, legacies if you graduated from the school, being in a single family, overcoming an obstacle, having to work, and many other things that make up your child's resume. While Ms. Valero was talking, I thought, what a great idea. What a great essay it would be, is I've been involved in student council, but I'd never held an office because all I care about is making things better. I mean, what a great essay that would be. And finally, in the holistic side, they want to know if you've done things for the community or the school. When we talk about community service projects, we're not talking about hours. We are talking about doing something that makes a difference in your community or school. Okay, college advisement for 9th and 10th graders. So we want, God, I'm going to tell you guys to start making a list of schools, to start talking about schools. I know they'd rather not talk about this all the time, but they dream and they have dreams. And just to keep a list of schools that they talk about, as soon as we, hopefully in the next 6 to 8 months, you'll be able to, if you're driving up 95, to go into a school and see a school. I always say, if you really want to go look at, have your child see a school, put your bikes on a bike rack, go out to FIU on a Sunday morning and ride around the campus and see what a college campus looks like. University of Miami may not let you do it because they have guards, but there are ways to get in. But FIU is a beautiful place to go for a bike ride. So I've done that many times, and if you haven't been to FIU in a while, it's a great way just to get a feel of a college. If you're driving up I-95, colleges are starting tours again on a smaller scale, but they are doing it. Getting your child to understand the application process, that they, what they do today matters junior year and senior year when they're applying. I didn't think about this when I said that originally, but not getting in trouble is a huge thing. Colleges aren't looking for minor violations, but they do ask about major violations. So I hadn't thought about that when we made this PowerPoint, but it is part of the process. But they should know about the application process. They should know that this is the plan they're going for in a few years. And essay ideas. One of the things I always say to the kids is, if something happens today, write about it today. If your child has an epiphany, they learned a valuable lesson, whether it's a good one or a bad one, it's a great time to write about that essay. Talk about it today, put it in a folder, put it in a file, and save it and come back when you're a junior, senior, and use that topic as an essay for the colleges. It really does work. And if kids feel stuck and sometimes helpless and not wanting to go any further with this process, it's scary to sit around the dining room table and talk about colleges. It creates anxiety. You talking about it without panic, staying calm, not telling them what to do, and just like window shopping for colleges, you're not going to buy the college, you're not buying that pair of shoes today. You're just looking at shoes for a wedding in a couple of years. It's too early to buy, but it's never too early to shop. So it's just a nice way to start things off in a peaceful manner, because when it comes to them being rising seniors, it becomes very stressful. And the same conversation you have today in a calm moment can be a very tense subject 2 years from now or a year from now. And I was saying before, again, I talk ahead of my slides, course selection is coming soon. More information is forthcoming. Okay, and how do you advise your child? When I was a counselor, and I was a counselor for 20 some years, an academic counselor, and a child came to me and chose their classes for the following year, I always told them, have that dream school in your mind when you're making your selection for courses. If your child is thinking of applying to an Ivy League or to a Vanderbilt or a Duke or a Wash U or one of the top schools in the country, and there's a bunch of them, they need to be looking at rigor. They need to understand that they're competing against other children who are taking rigorous coursework. And you want them to take the most difficult classes they can possibly take without getting too frustrated. You want them to get good grades. And for our parents who have perfectionist students who only want A's, a B is okay if they take a really extremely difficult class load. So, and it's always easier to go down than it is to go up. If you're sitting in a class that's too easy and it's October, it's really hard to go up, but there's always a possibility you can come down. So you want to, and every year you want to increase the rigor a little bit. You want to show the colleges that you are taking more rigorous classes. But if your child doesn't like history or doesn't like math, maybe they don't want to accelerate in those classes. It's difficult. They may want to take a class that may impress the college and be more interesting to themselves. And they should leave room for school and community involvement. It's so important. I was talking with a student just yesterday. He has nothing but academics and playing the piano. And that's all he does. And with the pandemic, there's nothing to do. So you want your child to be that well-rounded student. And if they're in a drama class or a newspaper or a yearbook or in health science or in drafting, if that's what they want to do, there is room to be in that kind of program and still take a very rigorous load of classes at Palmetto. We are very fortunate that that's one of the pluses about being at Palmetto. It's almost like a liberal arts college, high school. You can take extremely difficult classes in science and math, and if you're not a strong reader, you can step back a little bit. And finally, to leave room to be a teenager, especially with what we've all been through over the past 10 months, they've got to be teenagers. Once we start to move through a process of healing, they're going to want to be teenagers. I guarantee you that one. So with course selection, you will find out more information. I'm guessing through Connect Ed. Miss Mallard will be sending it to you. Mr. Barreras will be sending it to you via the English teachers, or if they're in the magnet programs, they'll probably hear it through the magnet programs, but they'll be talking about course selection and the way we're going to actually facilitate it. And once again, I think I've repeated the screen. Okay. Thank you. There we go.
Back. There we go.
Thank you. It's that crazy magic mouse. Okay. So a lot of you are talking about dual enrollment. Some of you don't know what it is, so I'll briefly give it to you an idea. Your child can take classes at Miami-Dade or FIU for free, books free, while they're either in high school or whether during the summer, if there's nothing better to do, or if they want to accelerate or just take a class they like. If they want to be, say, in 10th grade or 9th grade, I want to be an architect, then let them go take an introduction to architecture class at Miami-Dade. Get a feel for it. That may convince them to be one or not to be one. If they want to accelerate in an area, most of the classes, and we've heard some misinformation about this, are weighted like an AP course, but not all of them. So we have a process of this. So remember, this is Miami-Dade and FIU. If you are going to try to go to a summer program and get high school credit, it is not easy. There's a process within Dade County Public Schools where it has to be approved. You have to be way ahead of time. I would guess for that one, you're going to have to talk to Miss Mallard. She's probably going to kill me for telling you that. But basically, most of the kids take their classes at Miami-Dade or FIU. The next semester is summer. So, Ms. Dwyer, are you coordinating this? Right? Is that what I'm hearing, a rumor?
I was just going to say, unfortunately, I'm in charge of dual enrollment. So if you email me, I'm going to say you need to apply first. And so when you apply and get a Miami-Dade number, then you can come to me and then we'll start the process. But of course, email me and I'll tell you have to apply first. But in order to do dual enrollment, you have to apply to Miami-Dade College and become a student and have a number. That's the process to start.
And be very
do it
careful.
way in advance.
Yes, and be very careful. Remember, they have 3 summer sessions. They have one that starts while school is still in session in April, and they have one that starts, and that goes all the way through summer, and a short version. But the one our kids mostly go to is the one that starts right after school ends and ends usually at the end of July. Last summer, they were very flexible because everything was online. But anybody who's dealt with Miami-Dade in this room knows that Miami-Dade is extremely flexible and can change the rules at any minute. So as with COVID, it's a very viable option. It's a great way for them to see if they're going to count. If they decide to go to a state school, it counts towards their credits in college. They may do away, but you don't want them to take obviously their English classes or some of their American history classes, because you'd rather them take it at our school. Okay, something new for all the parents who are now have been through it. I'm looking at a couple parents who have already been through the process. And SCOIR, and it's not SCOIR, it's SCOIR. We have opened this up, Dade County Public Schools. I know if you have friends at Gulliver and Ransom or private schools somewhere, a lot of them are using Naviance or SCOIR. SCOIR is this really unbelievable program, the way it works, to where your child can shop for colleges. They can put their resume into SCOIR. They can do a lot of things, and this is the website. We're going to ask that when we all get done tonight, that these 150 people here are going to go tomorrow to their child and say, why don't you open up your SCOIR account? You've been invited. I will go tonight and invite every 9th and 10th grader again to make sure you get an invitation. Your child has to open up an account for you to have an account. And then once you have an account, it's like shopping and not having to buy anything for a couple of years. They have this amazing U-Science aptitude test. And I almost brought someone in to talk about it, but once again, I know this, I'm long-winded enough. But the U-Science aptitude test is a 2-hour test in 20-minute segments where they analyze your child, and with the child has the test scores and grades there, it then matches you to majors, actually your interests, then your majors, and then a variety of colleges around the country that your child matches up to. Linda, you've done that. I know you've actually taken the test and seen it.
So cool. I have 3 kids and I have my 2 older kids take it, and I could talk about this for hours. So I'll just say it's so cool. Some kids, just when they sit down, it's not really a test. They're more number games and shapes. And so it's not torture. Once they start, they might want to keep going, or they can do one little test and come back later. And then at the end, these 2 kids that I have are opposite humans. And it came up with it suggested all these different careers that I had never even heard of. So I couldn't even have suggested those careers because I didn't know they existed. So it's, as a mom, it's super cool. And then it told them what college to go to become that thing, and I could talk for hours, but it's totally worth it when your child has nothing to do, or their teacher lets them out because for the day and now they don't have homework or whatever, suggest that they do it. It's awesome. Totally, totally worth it.
You know, and the thing about an aptitude test, it tends not to change with time. I took an aptitude test and I took one back when I was 18 years old. And back then it said anybody who knows me knows this joke, a plumber or a rabbi. They were the 2 things. But I took the U-Science test. I didn't tell you I did it, Linda. I took the U-Science test and it came up, didn't say plumber or rabbi, but it sure brought those strengths out. So if any of your children, some of you may know what this feels like, are having a midlife crisis, you guys are not midlife, but you're having a crisis about maybe your job or what you're doing in life and looking for a job, career change, and you would go to a career counselor and they would give you a test similar to this, which would cost thousands of dollars. So I'm telling the kids who I'm talking about this test with that print this out and save it, because it's going to be gone a year after they graduate. So make sure they save it when they do it. And, look at that, something you can read with your child and really utilize the analysis of what they put on this.
It's also, like a 15 or 20-page document when you're done of the analysis of each person.
It had me pegged. I felt like I was 17 years old again. But I don't want to be a plumber. Although last bill, I sort of do want to be a plumber. But also, SCOIR allows us, if you show there's an interest in a school like Emory, and Emory's coming to visit, we can filter out the fact that you are interested in Emory and let you know, hey, Emory's coming to town. We're using this as a communication tool to you all between the file drive and between the messaging system. We're going to keep everything going through there. Just today for the seniors, I posted about 40 scholarships. And I think I posted a couple of things for the juniors and one thing for the sophomores. So it's in the My Drive and the notifications. It's going to be the communication from the CAP office to you all. So like, once again, have your child open up their account. I'll send the invite right after the meeting. And then you guys can get them to go on there tomorrow and have them join, and then you can have an account also. And everything I send to them, I'm sending to you also. It's essential, SCOIR also, it's essential that you keep track of where you're showing interest. Demonstrated interest is really like a really important part for a lot of colleges. But you can try, but if you say that you're interested in Florida State and they have your email, they'll send you emails on everything that you're interested in. If they change a rule, you'll get that email, not the soliciting email that you're getting already if you have a 10th grader, but I'm talking about like updates. It also that you're showing interest. Some schools actually count interest as an important part of the application, whether you've taken a tour, a virtual tour, whether you've talked with a counselor from the school. When the colleges come to visit Palmetto or into Miami, you go to one of the workshops on SCOIR or in a hotel room, you'll be able to do it. Also, it's one-stop shopping. You can take tours of the school online, watch videos where students talk about the school. And once again, it's a conversation starter with you and your child. No fighting, no arguing, just a nice discourse about, geez, look at all these great places. So once again, your child signs up for that SCOIR and go on from there. Okay, next. I'm jumping ahead, guys, and I don't mean, again, I do mean to overwhelm you. Common App is a wonderful tool, not just because they recognize the Palmetto Guidance Department as the top college counseling program in the country at this time, but because it's also got a lot of tools and tutorials, college search, chats with advice, so much more. 900 schools are on this portal where you can apply with one application and apply to as many schools as you need to apply to. Is there a difference? So if you go on the common application and apply to UCF, it's one question. If you go to a school like Georgia, there's 3 questions. If you go to apply to a school at UChicago, it's 7 questions. So there's a lot of different things, but the Common App takes all your demographics and puts it in one file. Your child can open up a Common App today if they wanted to, and actually it will roll over year to year as long as they put the right graduation date. So Common App is a wonderful tool. No, the videos are so amazing. So I just wanted to put that out there. It is the application we're going to use when they're in 12th grade. SCOIR is the tool to send and request materials. Being the first year in SCOIR, we had some confusion. I wish I had this screen at the beginning of the year, but Common Application is the application, and SCOIR is the way we send and request materials. And like I said, some of this stuff, 2 years from now, you're going to remember, hey, that CAP counselor told me that, and now it makes sense. There's also another program called Coalition Access. It's another way of applying to schools. It was developed originally from the University of Chicago, and it gives the students locker space to put files and anything they want to keep in there, like a locker to keep paperwork, graded papers. It's a collaboration place, and it's also a method of applying. Counselors aren't real crazy about it from the perspective of sending documents, but it still is a very good research program for you to use in the research of the search for colleges. I want to real briefly go over our state schools, and I don't know why I have UF just there by itself, but UF is, I know it's coming. So we've got FIU in Miami, FAU in Boca Raton, University of North Florida in Jacksonville, FSU in Tallahassee, FAMU is also in Tallahassee, UWF in Pensacola. I don't know if you know about this program. I always make a joke. It's in a different time zone. So if your child really wants to get away from you, but you want to pay state tuition, West Florida is the place to go to. Florida, once again, I don't know. I guess when I did this, we made a big thing about Florida. And oh, I know what this is. And Florida State and FIU are our 3 biggest schools that our kids apply to. We have about 250 kids apply to FSU and UF, and about 300 kids apply to FIU every year. We also have UCF in Orlando. It's another big feeder school. Quite a few kids apply there. USF has 2 campuses, St. Petersburg and Tampa. Florida Polytech is a small little technical STEM school in Lakeland, super program. It's a bookless college, no books. It's all virtual. New College is a liberal arts college of only about 1,000 kids in Sarasota. If you're ever over there, they're still doing tours there. Very quaint campus. You sort of feel like you're back in the 80s. Florida Gulf Coast and Fort Myers. And I always want to make a big deal about Miami-Dade Honors. Miami-Dade Honors gets kids into top colleges after a 2-year rigorous program. And Miami-Dade, we can't forget that with a 3.0 and a financial aid form, Miami-Dade is tuition free. It's called the American Dream, and I think I have a slide later on that. I know you're not thinking about this if your child just took the PSAT today, but when do you test for college? If your child has finished Algebra 2 by the end of their sophomore year, in October of their junior year, it's a good time to take the SAT. If in their junior year, they are taking Algebra 2, presently, they should wait till the end of the year. This is my opinion. This is no expert timeline that everybody should follow. I find it works for the kids that I advise, but if someone's telling you to do it differently, obviously you trust whoever you feel the person you should trust. This is having watched the kids over years, this is where the higher success rate is. They should be complete Algebra 2 before taking the test. I mentioned this a few seconds ago about the rigor part. We don't want C's, obviously. If a graduation minimum is a 2.0 and a C is a 2.0, obviously that's not a grade we're looking for, even if it's an AP class or an honors class. We do want A's and B's. We want your children to be successful if their post-secondary plan is to go to a 4-year college. So, and once again, just the idea of creating a resume. SCOIR allows you to make a resume right there just by documenting everything. There's another program I'm going to talk about in a second that's a resume, but you want your children to keep track of everything they do. I don't care if they organize a street cleanup on your own personal street, document that they did it. By the way, that was a Silver Knight Award about 25 years ago. But when you do these kind of things, whatever they do, keep track. You are going to forget. And so keeping that resume active, whether it's putting a paper in a sock drawer or using a formal resume writer like SCOIR has, please keep a resume.
Mr. Nuremberg, can I just stop you real fast? We will circle back to a lot of the questions that are in the chat. We don't get them, but a really good question just came up about community service. So briefly, in order to graduate from Palmetto Senior High, you have to have 1 hour to graduate. That's the requirement. To graduate, you need 1 hour. To get bright futures and things, we'll talk about that later. For certain scholarships, you need a certain number of hours. But in order to go to colleges, like Mr. Nuremberg said, you need a project, or you have had to show the schools that you have done something. It's not once you hit a certain amount. So it's more quality, not quantity. And about now, if your child isn't doing anything, that's okay. We get it. It's a global pandemic, but kids are figuring out community service hours, community service activities. They're doing clubs online. They've got community service projects going on. They're getting creative. So if your child has nothing, come see us, make a point to make an appointment, have your child make an appointment with us. So if your child isn't doing anything, there's going to be some flexibility because it's a global pandemic, but kids are finding ways to do things.
That's great. And it's funny you say come to us. Sometimes the idea, I always laugh because there's certain programs that we have running, like Tutoring for Tomorrow or Women's Union and other community service projects that actually started in my office. It wasn't my idea. It just started in my office. They were talking and what do you want to do about this and do that? And all of a sudden they were off and running. So sometimes, just bouncing an idea off an adult who just has done this before, I think really does help. And so if your child doesn't know what they want to do, but sometimes picking their brain, we can figure that out for them. One of the things that, when Mr. Wire said that, one of the things I always think about is that your child, for the Jewish people, if they were bar mitzvahed, if they did a project, started a Girl Scout project somewhere else, or a Boy Scout project, keeping something going over the years really shows dedication. So, if you did something back years ago and you want to renew it, if it was a good idea and it raised some money, do it. Go back and get your child. And yes, with 9th and 10th graders, a lot of this falls on you all. Why? Because they're not driving. Okay. And you don't want them to drive yet. So you do want to take them to a meeting or get organized. Tutoring for Tomorrow, which is a great organization within our school, started with a 10th grader, and that poor father was driving them to go tutor kids all the time. So just one of those things you can think about doing. Raise.me is micro scholarships, another one of those ways to keep track of things. The colleges, the 265 colleges that are on there, give your children money for every A and every B and for every community service hour. Whatever they do, there's money. If you go take a tour of FIU, and they are going to start opening them up again, they give you $400 towards your tuition if you decide to go, your child decides to go to FIU. It's a great way also for kids to see other schools. Sorry about that. It's also a way that to investigate schools they've never heard of. We sometimes, I don't know why this is doing this, but it's a great way of looking at different schools. There's 265 schools, of which they know of about 10. And so it opens their eyes, and it is micro scholarships. All right, we're going to talk about Bright Futures for a minute. It is too early. There's nothing to do but take the coursework and get the grades. It's run by the state, and it could change every year because it's run by our legislature. It's up for the top award. It's 100% tuition plus $600. They've put new requirements on the class of 2021. I would not be surprised that for your children, they'll change it again, simply because, we don't know how much money is in there at the pot. I don't know what's going on there. But the new scores are 1330 on the SAT, 29 on the ACT, a 3.5 in core classes. So only the English, the math, the social studies, the science, the foreign language, and academic electives are counted. And they weigh them a little bit different, and you need 100 hours of community service. 75% tuition is a 1210. They lowered it to 25 on the ACT, and it's a 3.0 class weighted 75 hours. There's another program called Gold Seal, which is for our vocational program. It really is an amazing program also. It doesn't pay as much, its scores are less, but for kids who are in the health science or the drafting or in the business program, it's another method of getting a scholarship. Getting real back to this is the only time I count community service hours. I don't care if your child does 1,000, 2,000 hours of community service. When a counselor is writing a letter of recommendation, it's about the power of the hour. It's about what did they do with their time. If they spent 10 hours here and 20 hours there and 30 hours there, it means they're a social butterfly who likes to be involved. But the power of, I never came up with that, the power of the hour. It is what you do with the time that you're serving and what impact did you have. And at Palmetto, we have kids who do powerful things. And your child has, they don't have to be the top of the class to have fantastic projects. We have kids sitting with a low GPA who are out there volunteering for their church and doing amazing things. And that's sometimes more important than the grades. Bringing up a child who's willing to volunteer and do things to help people, they're the kids we want to be our adults. So remember what I say about the hours. The hours stop at 100 because of that. Miami-Dade County Public Schools only even documents 999. So what we want your child to do is become involved, whether it's in school or out of school. And again, I've went ahead of my screen. Document. Going one step further than most other students, make a difference. If your child has a great project going already and you want it to be bigger, send an email to Ms. Spivak and Ms. Dwyer too, because they're both now working with Silver Knights. We want to know what they're doing as freshmen and sophomores. So, and if they need help, we'll help them. we'll figure out something else to do. So please contact Ms. Spivak, talk to Ms. Dwyer, contact me, the counselor. Let us know what your children are doing.
Oh, that's fancy.
It's what happens when you take slides from different programs and you forgot why you did it. Paying for school. I wonder if you went home tonight and asked your child, what do I do for a living? What would they say? Would they know exactly what you do for a living? Would they know about how much money you're making? Would they know how much your windstorm insurance is or how much your homeowner's insurance is? Do they have any idea how expensive some colleges are? There is if you ever come with me, I'm going to put you on the spot and I'm going to say, if your child gets into a prestigious school and it's $60,000 a year and they get into Florida, it's free, where are they going? It's a conversation you can have with the children. There are scholarships. There are merit scholarships at every college. But the reality is that college is extremely expensive. Private schools, out-of-state schools are very expensive, especially when Bright Futures is trying to keep you here. And that is the purpose of Bright Futures, is to keep your children in Florida. Westbridge is an amazing full-paid scholarship for some of the top schools in the country. We had a young lady, Priscilla Bermudez, I don't know if you read about it. She was our winner this year. She goes full paid to University of Chicago. They pay for her room, the board, tuition, and airfare home twice a year. So it's a fantastic program. So if you're sitting with a lower income and great test scores and grades, sophomore year, as you go to junior year, you're going to hear about it, investigate it. Posse will come in the March of their junior year. That's a Posse of Miami. We had 4 of our children win scholarships, full tuition, 3 to Davidson, 1 to Syracuse. We had 3 winners last year. It's an amazing program that helps your child go to school with a group of kids. You're going to hear more about this again as time goes by, but I just wanted to make sure you know that. Gates Millennium for people of color. It is for people of color who are high performing, not super performing, high performing, who have good projects, and it is an extremely difficult application. We've had winners over the years. It's not something every school gets every year. I don't know, I put these other things because they're ways of knowing how much a college is going to cost. On every college website, there's a net price calculator. It's at least 4 clicks from the homepage of admissions. You can actually fill out a questionnaire and it will tell you approximately how much your college tuition will be for your child. And once again, if you did prepaid, and if you have questions about prepay, feel free to email me or come talk to me or Ms. Dwyer. We'll talk about the order of how prepay works in the state and out of the state. Another wonderful opportunity for scholarships is the College Board Opportunity Scholarship. While your child is studying for Khan Academy, they have a chance to win money. Last year, we had 2 children win $500. Coral Reef had 2 kids win $500 and $1,000. This is a national scholarship, and that's 4 scholarships within 5 miles. So it's all been part of the Build Your College list. Obviously, we're trying to get your age group kids talking about college, getting excited, getting them motivated, because nothing makes grades go higher than being motivated to go to a great university. Communication. Okay, how do we communicate? SCOIR, like I told you before, messages, notifications, and file drive. We have a new web page on the way, right, Mrs. Dwyer?
You sure do. It's going to be amazing.
You'll hear about it through the PTSA. All current information will be on this. Once again, I know I talked about this earlier. Robocalls, please listen to them. It's super important. It is our best method of communication. Read the PTSA newsletter. Watch your kids' classes of Instagram. They're on there. The kids are putting things out there. Talk to your experienced parents. But remember, when an experienced parent tells you something, they're giving you the information they had from 1, 2, or 3 years ago. If something doesn't sound right, ask. I mean, my favorite misinformation is you can't take the SAT more than 3 times or they average it. That's not true, by the way. So it's one of my favorite ones that it's been consistent for 25 years since I've been in high school. And finally, emails. It's really time to get we're using emails extensively. Your child has been taken back in time, and it's using emails is essential. Answering emails is essential. One of the new complaints, which I'm really guilty of also, is answering emails appropriately and not using text language on an email, which I tend to do sometimes too. It's really important that they're using their emails. It is the way the colleges reach you. It's the way you get scholarships. It's the way you confirm a visit. You know that already. One of the things I do I know I usually say this in junior parent night also, your kids will gladly give you the password to their email. Not a problem. There's nothing confidential in their emails. So ask for their,
Oh,
talk
the
about
Hollister coupons.
I'm sorry, say that.
Just a whole bunch of Hollister coupons. That's all that's in there.
So yeah, and get them to clean out their email. If they haven't created an email for college, use that school email we have. It really works the best. If they do want to use their own, they can. It's not a problem. Yeah, that's for SCOIR also, but make sure they're responsible and check their email and make sure they reply.
And then you always mention to the kids that they need to make sure that the email is an appropriate email. So if it's just a silly one that has silly words in it, have them create a new professional sounding email.
What's your favorite one, Ms. Dwyer?
Booty shaker dot whatever. I couldn't believe it. And it was like, seriously. And she was like, isn't that funny? And I said, no, new email, booty shaker.
I've seen Hoochie Mama at Hotmail. So, and that was actually, that's not that long ago either. But
No.
you know, SpongeBob, I've seen that more than enough times over the years, you know. So just get that, tell them that those cute things are great passwords.
Yeah.
So emails are a big important part of what's going on. If you are a Facebook person, I have a Facebook account under Palmetto Scholarships and More. If you are connected on Facebook, please feel free to join that. Please you don't have to friend me. It's not that I don't love you. Well, I don't love you really, but I care deeply about you all. But please join it. There's a lot of information. Sometimes I'll remind you guys about a scholarship that the kids aren't replying to. And I always, when I started this page, I really wanted to just call it the nag page, so you can nag your kids. But it's there for you. And I think even after I leave, we're going to keep it going. So it's there for you. And we did things on Facebook Live last year. We'll probably do it again. There's other college websites via social media. It's important they follow it on Facebook. Colleges use Facebook. College shopping. College fairs are all online as of now. One of the ways you can do it is by signing into nacacfairs.org. And again, this is recorded and going to be on YouTube tomorrow under my name, this whole program. You can see this again. The PowerPoint itself will be on the Facebook page. It'll also be on, hopefully PTSA will put it up and we'll have it all over the place. If you need to see it, I'll send it to you. Evening visits from the colleges will be in the spring. Hopefully, if things stay the same, colleges, once they start making their decisions, then start sending their people out. Now it's Zoom, but they're sending them out to visit high schools. We usually have about 20 schools visit us in March or April, and we'll be doing that. College visits next year take place during lunch or after school, and hopefully we'll be back to physical, and child will be able to get a pass, and make sure they always sign in so the college knows they're interested. And if you're visiting, whether it's virtually or in person, go visit, make sure they know you're there. It does help. Using email, social media to your advantage really helps the purpose. These are the dates of the college fairs that the NACAC organization has already put up. I put this up in SCOIR for the whole school, so it's in their notifications. They've got this in there. And the fair for the, I think there's one for the Southeast. Once you go in, you'll be able to see which area you should be visiting. And that the reason you go to your area college fair is your rep for that college will be there. So in other words, if you're looking at Florida State, when you get to that fair, the people who are working with Southeast Florida will be in that fair. College Board is also doing a fair, and they're southeast. If you look on the bottom corner down here, it's February 23rd. And so that's their big futures day. And this is just another one. And this is also in the file drive waiting for you. Raise.me is just another one. I just put this up there so you'd see it and remember it. And these are all the different websites that you can use to research and look and investigate and go crazy over. And I don't know what else I could say about being social, being evolved. Okay. This is my little mission I started about 3 years ago, and I'm sorry for the parents who've heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. When I was a kid, 50 some years ago, radio, the telephone, and TV were my biggest distraction. I love telling the story. I like talking about myself. I had a system in my house where I laid on my bedroom floor and looked through the banister and down the mirrors through the living room. I could see the TV if my sister turned it on for me. Okay, that's how bad I wanted to be distracted. And then cable TV came. And oh my God, I would watch the channels that were swiggled and squiggled. You couldn't even see it, but you could hear it. And then the computer came. And then three-way calling and chatting and FaceTime. The amount of distractions these kids have with gaming and YouTube and Netflix and TikTok and many other ways, it is so different than me looking through the banister, through the mirrors to watch TV. There's no effort, it comes first. If the kids ever talk to me, I always tell them, after you do a half hour of Khan Academy, then go do YouTube. Okay, after you do that extra work, read ahead in your English history class, then go watch TikTok for 2 hours. Make sure you manage your time. Self-distracting behaviors are just gotten so much worse, and it's not because I'm older. I just know, watching the kids, when Facebook came out, it was a huge drop in grades in our kids because they were hooked to Facebook, just as some of you are today. Appointments with counselors, email your own personal counselor for the contacts are at the front. Parent conferences, if you want to meet with me or Ms. Dwyer, here are our emails. Children aren't mandatory at these meetings, but since we're talking about them, it's good to have them there. We recommend it. With Zoom, it's been a little bit difficult. I have an open Zoom room that you can just email me and give me a time where your child can miss a little bit of class. We'll get them out of class and come on Zoom with me. I am working from home right now, and Ms. Dwyer is working from the CAP office. I don't know how that's going to end in the end, but for right now, that's how we're doing it. I'm finding Zoom works really well. The juniors and seniors are actively searching out for both of us and for their counselors. They're going to be meeting with their counselors probably in March about course selection, one-on-one through Zoom, is from what I'm hearing. Oh. I'll let you breathe and just look at that one. The secret sauce, if you don't know what that is, for about the last 7 years, we bring our seniors in, and last year we did it through Zoom, and we talk about the college application process. It gets kids excited. We try to bring a variety of schools. Of course, we'd like to toot our horn about our most prestigious schools. We've had some very great acceptances so far this year. We just had our first military academy appointment this week. We've done really well on early decision with a lot of schools. We're having a great year considering everything going on. It'll be in late May, and I'm hoping I'm going to have at least a couple more different activities for you all to have some sense of normalcy. Because the one thing I've learned this year is the college application process. Take away the SAT, ACT, and the college application process is one of the most normal things we've got going for us. Okay. Do not turn this off and tell your child that they must get this done today. Okay, it can wait till tomorrow. Wait, guys, we've seen this before. Wait for it, because I got a new ending. Understand that this is really stressful to all of you, but your relationship with your child is so much more important in college. Okay, so your homework for tomorrow is not to bother them today. Get them to join SCOIR in the next day or so. Okay, remember, go home and show your child. That should look a little better. that you love them, that you care about them. Because remember, they'll always be your baby. And if you don't know who that little baby is right now, that is me. So please know that we are there for your children, from the counseling staff, from all of us, Mrs. Dwyer, myself. Please, thank you for being so supportive. You guys are the best parents in the world. If you are not PTSA members, join today. Send them that little check. And if you are an alumni of Palmetto, please join that also. It's a very active organization that Cindy Lerner is still doing, along with actually Mayor Cunningham and a few other people. And with that, I'll come back to us. I don't know what's in the chat, so.
There's lots of questions. There's lots of thank yous, and everyone loves you. So of course, we know that. Let's see. People want to know about subject selection. They want to know about what the portal is.
Okay, so the portal is right on when your child signs in. You can also, and where you can see their grades. If you ever go to the apps on a portal, there are other apps, I guess. Yeah, I guess it's the app page. It's got a lot of different tools for helping your child academically. Lots of information goes through it. If you don't have your own portal access, email Mr. Diaz, I believe. He'll give you the password for it, and you can go on there and monitor also. But do not look at your child's grades every week or every day, especially. Some teachers are super anal and they get there and they put everything in right away. And some teachers, we all know, are not like that, and they take their time putting grades in. But the portal does give you, it's what you guys used to have as progress reports. So the portal is there for your use. And what was the other question, Linda?
We don't have the real answer to that. A lot of people are asking about choosing classes.
Yeah, guys, the one thing I can guarantee you, I shouldn't say this publicly, but I had no filter. Okay, the reason we choose classes in March is because we have to know how many classes of everything we're going to need for next year. It's a lot about the individual child, but it's more also about building a schedule for next year. So when you meet with the counselor, when your child meets with the counselor and the teacher, and they make their suggestions, you have the power to meet with your counselor afterwards and talk about what they chose. So when they're going through the process, remember, this is just first run. This is where we're getting things organized. So listen to what the teachers are suggesting, talk to the counselor and listen to what they're suggesting, and there will be a process. If you need to make a change, you'll be able to do it in a normal, timely fashion.
And in the past, it would all be for the freshmen. In the past, everyone would go to the media center and they would do rapid fire meetings with their counselor. But this year it has to be on Zoom, one kid at a time. So that will just take longer. It will get done, but continuing with we all need to be patient this year.
Yeah, it's going to be feeling it out for the first time. Like we're all doing everything this year. I think patience and kindness is definitely one of the things we all have to be practicing.
Here's a great question. You can talk about Miami-Dade honors. Would you recommend to go to a community college for your associate degree and then transfer to an Ivy League for the last 2 years?
Okay, going to Miami-Dade regular, that's a very difficult mission. Remember, when you transfer schools after your first 2 years of community college or even another school, you're applying with your grades from the community college. There's no testing. So you've really got to be superior. Miami-Dade honors, their goal is to get you into those top colleges in the country. They give you a very structured, rigorous curriculum, and the goal is to get you into an Amherst or a Boston College or a Penn or a Columbia. Their goal is to send their very best. So if your child 2 years from now is not ready to leave Miami and you want to nurture them a little more, Miami-Dade honors is probably one of the best deals in town. It's easier to go from Miami-Dade honors to another college 2 years later than it is to go to FIU and try and transfer. No, I know some of you aren't going to want to hear this either. Every community college has an agreement with a college. So Tallahassee Community College, TCC they call it, has an agreement with FSU. They know exactly what FSU wants. Santa Fe, University of Florida, UCF, Valencia. We have it with Miami-Dade and FIU. Does that mean you can't go from Miami-Dade to FSU? Sure you can. It's the matching of the courses when they transfer is what it's all about. So I cannot push enough for Miami-Dade honors. A lot of the kids go to Miami-Dade simply because they're not ready to leave home. And financially, it is, if they're, you know, a good student, but not like the top 5, 10%, that they want to go to Miami-Dade because it's free versus whether it's going away out at home or not. So Miami-Dade, we're very lucky about Miami-Dade. It's got a wealth of majors and minors and programs, 2-year, 4-year programs. It's, you know, I can't talk enough about it.
We've got a lot of really great, important questions about specific things with individuals' children with EOCs and testing. To whom should we refer them for those specific questions?
Well, I will tell you, I've been out of the academic counseling now for about 10 years, and I am not the person to talk to, and neither is Ms. Dwyer.
No.
That kind of question, because things have changed since I was an academic counselor. I can help you choose classes, but I cannot, you know, by the way, if you would like my help doing that, after you meet with everybody, I will gladly offer that kind of advice in April and May. But your counselor and your teachers really know your child the best.
What about Miss Valencia, the testing chair? What questions should go to her?
I mean, on that one page that I'm going to put in that I put in the file drive, it has all the tests that are required. Miss Valencia, I would please give her a day to recover from the PSAT, but you may want to email her and ask her questions. The counselors know exactly what your child will need to graduate. And so they're really the people to reach out to. And when your child is meeting with the counselor for course selection, give them a list of questions to ask the counselor. So it's not just pick your classes, ask about a certain type of diploma. So they're not going to let you that one. Okay. Anything else in here? I have not been able to look at the chat.
I think that covers it, Gina. Gina answered a lot. Thank you, Gina. You've
Thank
been
you,
working hard.
And thank you for all the people who stayed with us through this whole thing. You know, I thought I was going to be longer. I probably, you know, last year we were an hour and a half, but we did talk about graduation requirements. And I just thought with Zoom, an hour limit for all of us sitting down usually is about what we can do. But I can't thank you enough for coming tonight and doing this with us. And I'm going to stay on until I close it off, and I'll you know, anybody wants to ask a question, they can feel free to if they want. I know I always like being the last one to turn it off. So I like being the last one to close the door, but thank you once again for coming. Linda, anything else that I forget? Anything?
Just one more time for the people that chimed in late. Where do they see this recording?
This will be on my YouTube channel for sure under Harry Nierenberg, which is public, which scares the crap out of me. I have a bunch of things there. Last year's activities are there. If you're really totally bored in life and want to watch the secret sauce from last year, it's on there along with junior presentations and other things. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on the Facebook page. The PowerPoint itself, not the video, will be on file drive on SCOIR and wherever else I can put it. If you email me on Thursday and I will be able to tell you exactly where I put it all. Okay, and once again, thank you guys for coming. Be safe driving home. Oh, that's right. Be safe walking back to the bathroom or the bedroom, wherever you're going. Normally you'd be thinking about this is a positive. Normally you'd be coming out of that parking lot right now, cursing at that person in front of you for waiting for somebody. So there is that one little advantage sometimes. But thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. It's a lot. You did awesome. It's a lot of information, but I think if people hear it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times.
That's the key, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always do something new, no matter what meetings I go to.
How do I unmute all?
Yeah, unmute so we can say hi to Nicole and Alyssa. That's all I see. I'm going to gallery view it.
Ask all to unmute.
Katie.
And Katie, yeah, it's always us. We're like, love it.
Tina, you can do it.
Everyone.
I did it.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All it says ask to unmute.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye.
Katie put herself back on mute. She's hiding from us.
Hi, Nicole.
No problem.
Thanks to all.
This was good.
This was very good.
Okay.
2 years in a row. It was very good.
Okay, so there was new stuff because of SCOIR, correct?
6 years.
Yes.
It was a lot of new stuff.
Six
Yes.
years.
Nicole, how many times have you seen
Tina's
this?
been here 4 years. Nicole, been years.
Yeah.
Nicole can give
I
it.
have 3 more years. And then I'll come back just for fun.
Oh my God, you can come for Zachary because I'll be just so traumatized,
Nicole will be working at the school like me. We'll be like twinsies.
right?
Oh, I messed up. I was supposed to take a drug test to be a substitute, and I missed the email, and now I had to email them to say, can you send it back to me? But now I'm nervous that they're gonna think that I skipped it on purpose. So
Come on, Nicole, tell the joke. I better stop recording, huh?
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes, stop recording. Hey, Katie needs help. She can't unmute herself.
Hold on. I don't know how to
Nice,
do this. I've
Katie.
never done this before is that good?
keep her muted.
Keep her,
Keep her
this is a
muted.
lot of control.
Katie, you should be able to.
What's wrong, Katie? No, she can't.
How do you do? Gina, you know how to do this. I don't know.
Yes, I did ask to unmute. Hold on, let me see.
Yay, Katie.
Okay.